Welcome to Open Season. I'm your host, Billy Allen. There's your producer, Brian Murphy.
What up, what up?
We're coming to you live from Down the Road Brewery here in Everett, Massachusetts, where the Celtics are up on this huge projector right in front of us. It's pretty cool what they got going on. Celtics in a close one, but they're up 194 as far as I can see. We're going to be tossing that around with a few thoughts about the NCAA tournament. We'll be talking about Gronk's retirement, what it means for the Patriots, what it means for Gronk, what it means for the Gronk brands, all kinds of different things. So talking about that as well as Chris Sale, the big extension. Do the Red Sox sign pitchers over 30? All kinds of goes back. It seems like the Red Sox pick a new strategy every year. So what are your thoughts on that extension as we talk about a little bit more around the NBA playoffs, how they're shaping up? Looks like the Celtics are going to be firmly in the third spot going against the Pacers here in the first round. So chucking around a lot tonight here on Open Season, and you can call us at 501-502-3477.
Check that.
We have
502-501-3477.
Sorry, oh my God, 502-501-3477. We have Brian manning the phones over there. No, there's a lot of action, a lot of people who want to talk about this Gronk retirement. And what does your bracket look like right now? I got to say, I feel like I honestly am having the greatest bracket that I've ever personally had. I've got a 14 out of my 16, Sweet 16, intact. So just personally for me, let's just, put that out there. But anyway.
That's not bad. That's not bad.
How about the Duke, the Duke Blue Devils? Everybody thinks that they're going to take it. For the most part, I feel like every bracket's pretty much got Duke at the end of it. Some people got creative. Maybe you've got Tennessee. Maybe you've got UNC. But a lot of people taking Duke. What do you think about them? And their close win, for me, it was a little bit too close against UCF. Hi, you're on with Open Season. Hi there, can you hear us? You're on with Open Season.
Hello?
Yes, you're on with Open Season. Is my mic on?
Yes, I can hear your mic now.
All right. Who do we have?
Bill from Hopkinton.
All right, Bill. What's on your mind tonight?
Well, I figured I'd spend a couple minutes and chat about Gronk. He made the decision that I think we all knew he was going to make at some point, and I think a lot of folks thought he'd probably make it last year, but he took his time after last year's season and came back and gave it his all this year. And goes out with a Super Bowl. So I think he was a warrior, and he's beat up, and he's moving on to other things. But I'm curious if you think he'll come back at some point, because yesterday his agent Drew Rosenhaus mentioned that he wouldn't be surprised if Gronk came back mid-season. What do you think about that?
Yeah, well, first, Bill, I think you encapsulated what a lot of people are thinking this week. I think a lot of people expected, well, it seemed like the Patriots almost, maybe not expected here at the end, but it seemed like a lot of people thought that Gronk was going to kind of hang it up this year, and I kind of agree with you. I felt like this year was kind of a bonus as well, and I really liked their strategy this year where they rested him for about 4 or 5 weeks in the middle of the season, and allowed him to be able to go into the playoffs healthy, and we saw him not come up with the MVP, but arguably probably had 2 of the biggest grabs there in the Super Bowl. So it was really incredible how he was able to go out on top. And as far as him coming back, I did hear those rumors. It's funny, about as soon as he retired, we heard that he's going to be coming out of retirement. That seems to be the case with all these guys now. So Will he come back? I think what you alluded to. I think he's a bit beat up, and I think this is a decision that they've really made over the past few years. Now, I think when you watch clips of Gronk in 2011 and you just watch defenders kind of ping off him, and you watch him today, it's almost kind of sad, and to kind of see how beat up he got. And I don't think personally that he's going to come out of retirement. I think it'd be nice because the Patriots haven't done a lot to shore up the team, but I think he's going to stay retired. I think, kind of like you hit on, it's a decision they've thought about, and I think he's going to stay retired. What do you think?
Yeah, I think he's done. I don't know if his agent is just trying to throw a for instance out there, or what if scenario, or that type of thing. I think if he number one, if he didn't retire, I think the Patriots probably wouldn't sign him for the money that he was looking or hoping to make if he was going to continue on with the Patriots, or look to another team if he couldn't get paid by the Patriots. He may have had to take the hometown discount or that type of thing. But I think that probably weighed into his decision, and maybe rather than going to another team, he retires as a Patriot. He's got 3 Super Bowl wins, and can hang his hat on that, and he's a Patriot for life. And I think sure time Hall of Famer, Canton, and Patriots Hall of Famer. I think it just remains to be seen when those dates and times come. But I think that if he did come back mid-season, it probably would be just for the fun or the camaraderie and competition of him playing with the Patriots and that type of thing. I don't know what type of money or coin they throw at him for a partial season. Certainly I think it would be something far less than what someone else that maybe is not not as hurt or that type of thing would get. And I think if he came back, it could be in a limited scenario as well, because you don't know what would he do the first half of the season. Would he continue to train, condition himself, be ready? So if he decided to drop a line into Foxborough and say, hey, you need someone, I'd like to come back, would he be ready to go? I don't know what you think about that.
Yeah, that's great stuff out of you, Bill, and from Hopkinton, and appreciate you calling in tonight. I think that's definitely a good point. Gronk was really an all-time talent, and definitely a first ballot Hall of Famer. I think he is certainly gonna. I think it's no question that he's a Pats all-time. And as we've got somebody else calling in, hi, you're. All right, and I think we brought you on. You are live with Open Season. Who do we have?
Yeah, you got Bill from Hopkins again. We got cut off.
Oh, boy. Okay, we cut him off. Okay. So we're just saying good stuff out of you there, Bill, and, appreciate you calling into the show tonight, giving your opinion. So absolutely agree with you that Gronk is certainly going to be Canton-bound, going to be a Pats, Hall of Famer. I think the only question really, the only debate that people have really been making is who's the greatest tight end ever. I think people are arguing a lot this week if it's Tony Gonzalez or Gronkowski, and I think that's really the debate when you look at it all the time. Even Shannon Sharp, who, is, I don't know if he's a first ballot, maybe second ballot, but, one of the greatest tight ends I can think of. Gronk surpassed his production, in almost half a career. When you look back at it, Gronk played 9 seasons, but he, how many of those seasons was he actually healthy for the full thing? Every time he got 16 games, we pretty much took that as a blessing. So, and I think for Gronk, I don't think he's going to come back because I just think that whatever the Pats would throw at him, I just don't think it would be worth it. I think appearance fees, I think Gronk could easily make whatever the Pats could throw him in a prorated deal. Hi there. You're on with Open Season?
Yep, I'm still here.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay.
Yeah.
You don't have to. Okay. we got you.
Yeah. Well, I think that I think that's all good stuff, and I don't know if it's my phone that keeps cutting out or whatever, but maybe what I'll do is I'll toast a glass to Gronk, and we'll wait and see what transpires. But I do think he's done, and we'll see what he'll do post football. So good show tonight. I'll let you take some other callers, and we'll catch you another time.
All right, thank you for your thoughts tonight, Bill. And that sounds like we got another one here on hold, or no? Okay. So yeah, I totally think whatever the
call in. We're getting a lot of calls. This is good.
I think whatever the Pats would be
people.
able to throw Gronk in a prorated deal, it just wouldn't be worth it. Billy kind of mentioned, what could they do for a return strategy? People, I think, are gonna get excited about can Gronk, would he return to a playoff-looking team? As we've got another one on the line here. You're calling in an Open Season. You are on live. Who do we have?
Billy, baby, this is Connor in Charlestown. Just want to say the hair looks phenomenal, first and foremost. Well done with that tonight. I got a couple things here. The Gronk thing is going to be recurring, obviously worthy of talking about, right? We all love him. We're all going to miss him. I kind of want to turn the page. We all knew this day was coming. I'd love to hear your 2 cents on how we're going to fill the void, how we're going to turn the page and make sure we don't lose big out on that spot there. So how we can keep the momentum at the tight end position. And then second to that, I hope I'm not getting ahead of myself, but I'd love to hear more about the Bruins. Never pegged you for a big Bees guy. I know you love the C's in the past. However, we are primed to enter the playoffs here. We're at the top of the Eastern Division, and I'm more optimistic about those guys than I have been in a long time going to the playoffs.
Oh yeah.
So I'm all ears, but look forward to your responses.
Yeah, absolutely. So I definitely need to be a better Bruins fan. I certainly got to admit that we definitely need to incorporate that more into the show. I'll be first and foremost.
That's what
to
you got
admit.
me on the show for. I thought.
But we do have
Bruins
Brian
beat.
in the corner. I can say
digging the pucks out from the corner. Yeah.
And Brian is, tries to give us the rundown kind of in the last 5 minutes. Yes, I'm an NBA centric, a football centric guy. In terms of first hitting on your question there, I think what they'll do to fill the void, I think there's a couple tight ends at Iowa that could potentially be there to be taken at the 32nd pick that the Pats could take to move on with. I also think. Brian is shaking his head at me, so
I'm agreeing.
Okay.
Because I think what you were saying about Gronk's retirement being totally official. I think look at the timing of this. He announced it at least a few weeks ahead of the draft. He could have waited till into the summer to announce. Like I think he was communicating with the team, being like, "Listen, guys, there are some tight ends coming up in this draft. I'm thinking this way, and I'm going to do this."
Yeah, that's an interesting thought. It seems like a lot of people have kind of thought that Gronk took his time with this decision, but honestly,
but he at least let them know before the draft.
Right?
There's been how much is that going to affect their draft strategy?
Yeah, for sure. So I mean, to first answer Connor's question there, I think they're probably going to target one of those tight ends. I think obviously you can't replace Gronk, and that kid is certainly talented. He's big, but he won't be Gronk. But I mean, with Tom Brady and the way that they run this offense and the success that we've seen him have out of two tight end sets, especially as Brady gets older and they look to take the load off him a bit, I think tight end is going to continue to be a position that they're going to need to continue to make sure is stocked and loaded. And I think that they will probably take care of that with a first-round pick. It's weird to say that Belichick will take a guy like that with a first-rounder, but, I think it certainly is a need that they do need to address, and I think that's what they'll do to do it. I also think that they need to address the wide receiver position. I think it's just, Hogan's still out there. They really haven't done a whole lot to make me have a whole lot of confidence in this wide receiving core. And, everybody mentions Josh Gordon, but we all had confidence in him until what's happened. So, I'd put 2% chance that he stays healthy for a full season. He hasn't been able to do it for 5 or 6. So I think what the Pats are going to have to do to address that strategy, they seem to miss out on every tight end in free agency, every slot guy, from Golden Tate to Humphreys to the kid that signed with Buffalo, the kid out of Dallas, Cole Beasley.
Possibly because they were looking towards the draft. Possibly because they had been talking to Gronkowski and knowing
what I'm saying is I think they're
know?
going to have to trade a pick for a wideout. I think
Fair enough.
They've
Fair
done
enough,
it before. Yeah. They've done it for Welker. They did it for Moss. I think they're going to have to trade a pick for a wideout. And whether they do it or not, I mean, honestly, every year this team surprises me with how cheap they are and penny pinching they are. Every time you think they need to make a move, they don't and somehow win a Super Bowl. Did any of us say that this was a Super Bowl winning team this year?
I sure
No,
didn't.
but they executed down the stretch. So to answer your question, I think that's how they'll address it. And, you're definitely right. The Bruins are playing incredibly well right now with a lot of momentum going into the playoffs, and we don't talk about that. Brian, what do we have to say?
What do we have to say about the Bruins? So Connor, you're watching the team, right? And they're going to go in as the 3 seed, unfortunately, because of the NBA's horrible playoff, the NHL's horrible playoff seeding structure.
Oh, where the best play the best, and there's no reward for a good regular season, right?
Well, right. No, there's no reward for if you happen to be the second best team in the conference, but you're in the division with the Tampa Bay Lightning, then yeah, you get jobbed a little bit.
Yeah.
But I would say that I think to get a sense of confidence for this Bruins team, which is I think deserved, we should be feeling confident about this Bruins team. Look at that Islanders game. It wasn't about the 5 goals they scored. It was about the 0 goals that they let up. They shut that team down. A pretty offensively talented New York Islanders team, just they completely dominated them. That was 2 or 3 games ago. And, in a likely first-round matchup against Toronto, I like the Bruins shutdown defense going against a team that is that doesn't have that grit and that grind and that killer instinct to get it done.
So how about that, Connor, huh? That wet your whistle a little bit there for some Bruins talk? All right, so we're trying to. I'm gonna try to beef up on it. Brian's got all the knowledge, and we'll definitely touch on that.
Connor hung up on us.
Yeah, but he's probably still listening. I mean, I'm sure he spends. I'm sure he watches the entire show. So,
of course.
Anyway, as we talk about that, the Celtics just wrap up a win over the Cleveland Cavaliers. Al Horford, your player of the game, 19 points, 8 boards, 5 assists. A complete effort from Al Horford. So, the bipolar Celtics, which side are you on? As Kyrie can't seem to say a good thing, and again, Kyrie sitting out tonight. He can play in the All-Star game, but man, down the stretch, he really needs his rest. But the All-Star game, he seems to be all good to go. So we're going to continue to monitor that situation. I've been saying it the whole way through, and am I wrong on plenty of things? Absolutely. But I never bought in on Kyrie staying with this team long-term. And whether he does or not, yeah, I'm not saying 100% that he's not, but I don't think he's gonna. If I had to bet my money, I think he's going to the New York Knicks. I think he's gonna try to find whatever collection can go over there. I think it's gonna be him and Kevin Durant and X, honestly, and then whoever they're able to add through the draft, wherever that position is gonna be, because it's gonna be high. If you miss out on Zion Williamson, this is a draft where you can still get John Morant, you can still get R.J. Barrett. There's a lot of talent. Cam Reddish, 3 players just to name off Duke. that in all other years would probably be consensus number one picks. So there's going to be a lot of talent there for the Knicks. So and they've got some cap money. So I think I could really sell myself on Kyrie leaving this team, all the things that he said. But for one more playoff round here, and maybe they sign him, maybe they go forward. But I think they are going to kind of try to dial it in here, and it's all going to be on Kyrie's shoulders, really. Does he actually do what he says he's going to do and just play basketball? Is he the guy who can actually lead this team? I think it's a very talented team, and you really just don't know what you're getting from night to night. The Bucks and Raptors, the Raptors have been a team that's choked, but now they have Kawhi, and we'll see how that works out. He's another guy who load management. It's a term that I never heard it till about a year and a half ago, but it seems to be ever popular in sports as you care more about, you've got to care about a brand, you've got to care about other ways to make money and the long term. So
wait a second. What's the term?
Load management.
Okay, then. All right.
Don't you remember Michael Jordan sitting out all those playoff games for load management?
Yeah. I mean,
of
course.
It honestly used to be something when guys played 82 games. I liked that. And, it used to be like guys wanted to play 82 games. Gary Payton was a guy, 82 games every year. Malone, Stockton, Clyde Drexler, those guys all played 82. When they were healthy, you didn't even really think of, and now it's like you don't even really think of playing down the stretch. It's just crazy how the scales have turned, and it's like these guys, they're playing money. At the end of the day, you're getting paid to play a game that you love. I mean, I get that you could get hurt, but I mean, we all got jobs. If you got a contract that entitles you to however many million, I'm expecting a 50-hour work week at least. I mean, so anyway. The Celtics, just what they're going to do and what they're looking like coming down the stretch here, it's like they lose that game to Charlotte, and it's like, how in God's name do they lose a 17-point lead in the fourth quarter? And then they have these games where they're able to execute and look great, but it seems like Brad Stevens has definitely had his challenges trying to integrate this entire lineup together, and this team has just never quite flicked any type of switch going into the playoffs. Playing a pretty feisty, an underdog Pacers team that almost kind of looks like the Celtics of last year without their superstar, rallying around the loss of Victor Oladipo. And they do have some scrappy guys over there, that aren't going to make this series easy. They have got the center. Miles Turner is probably going to absolutely eat the Celtics alive down there in the post, and then they've got a variety of different wing players. But again, that kind of thing where when Victor Oladipo got hurt, everybody said, "Oh, the Pacers are going to plummet in the standings. Oh, the Celtics are going to go right up." Nothing really changed there, and in fact, the Pacers have actually. And again, this is kind of like what we do when Kyrie gets hurt. They're not better because Oladipo is hurt, but they're playing well in his absence. So the Pacers, while I think that's a win that you can definitely expect the Celtics to, they should win that series, but it's not going to be any gimme. And then the way things look, the Celtics are looking like they're going to end up playing Milwaukee in the second round. So it really comes down to what's your outlook on a Celtics series against Milwaukee? Because any of us would certainly think losing in the first round would be a failure. What if you're watching out there or you're looking at this win tonight over Cleveland, probably doesn't show you a whole lot. They've shown you that they can beat the tomato can teams. It's can they play when the lights are on bright? And I feel like the other night against Philly, they kind of gave some light to a team that they had their way with. They let them win the end of that game and weren't really able to execute. It almost looked like the way that Philly had played last year in the playoffs. So the Celtics playing some sloppy basketball, resting guys down the end, not really seeming to develop that type of chemistry that you would certainly want. And with the way that Kyrie has been this year, it's probably like you lose the 4 games or whatever that Kyrie doesn't win, that's bad. If they win the 4 games, everybody will say the Celtics are better without him, and Terry Rozier should start, and they should see what type of haul they can get for him when the Celtics have done everything they possibly could to lure a guy like Kyrie Irving to come here and stay here long term. So we'll keep monitoring Kyrie's diva watch and how he continues to act with this team. But the Celtics taking away a victory tonight as they head into the playoffs. As we turn gears a little bit and look towards MLB, we've talked about some of the big signings last week and talked about the enormous deals, the money that's going out, the money that you could probably expect Mookie Betts to be commanding. The Red Sox have, again, prematurely, like I said, all these signings happen. They're premature. They're not when you actually have to sign the guy. The Red Sox, with an extra year of Chris Sale on his deal here, they decide to offer him a 5-year deal for $134 million. And honestly, in my mind, I think it's a bargain. I think with what you have to pay for guys these days, to get a guy that's all in on Boston, I mean, he has been a guy that's kind of broken down over time, but when he's healthy, he's absolutely one of the best. I think he started, the last 3 All-Star games, so he's definitely one of the best pitchers going when he's right, and I think that's just the going rate for an ace. I get that he's a little bit older, and I get that there's... And as we have the lines ringing up here, welcome to Open Season. Who do we have?
Hi, this is Ryan from Quincy.
Hey, Ryan. What's going on tonight? What's on your mind?
Hey, what's up, bro? How's it going, man? How's the show doing?
Hey, it's going pretty well, man. You got anything for us tonight?
I just wanted to reminisce about Rob Gronkowski's career. I know a couple days ago, March 24th, it's a sad day for all of Patriots Nation, and I was kind of shocked by the news. I know he's just coming off the Super Bowl. He's going to be turning 30 in just a couple months now. But I thought, based on just how much he was going to the Patriots facility, like all the signs looked pretty good. I mean, Tom Brady's coming back, Edelman's coming back. I thought it could just be another reunion of everyone getting together. I can obviously understand Gronkowski's reasons, but do you think there's any chance of him coming back? I know Drew Rosenhaus was saying that the Patriots are all of a sudden struggling just a little bit towards the end of the season, as Tom Brady was to call him and say, hey, Rob, we need you. Do you think he would ever come back, or do you think he's just moving on to greener pastures, entertaining just his movie career, possibilities of acting, maybe joining the WWE?
Yeah, Ryan. I think you bring up a lot of good points. We've kind of talked about both sides of it, both people expecting Gronk to retire and people not expecting it. And I think you are right with there does seem to be something to the fact where a lot of us may have expected it, or whether who expected it or not, it does seem to be something like where maybe the Patriots didn't expect it, and maybe they had kind of talked themselves into Rob Gronkowski committing as a blocker and maybe trying to rest him again. And you're kind of right. There were some rumors actually about him spending quite a lot of time around the facility, and maybe they just weren't able to come together on a number that Gronk was comfortable going out there and risking his body for. So, that could potentially be a piece of it. We'd never really know in these negotiations. I was watching some of these clips, Ryan, and from like 2011, 2012, it was like nobody could catch up. It didn't really matter where you threw the ball. If you threw it in the dirt, he'd pick it up. If it was a cornerback covering him, he would just out-muscle him, and then he would run through 2 other cornerbacks. I mean, some of the highlights are just truly stuff we'll never see from him again, or never see from somebody else again. And I think when I watched actually that in contrast to some of the clips of him this year, it's actually pretty sad to see that, he has really tangibly, it looks like he has kind of lost quite a bit. Can he give us that production in spurts? Sure, but I do think it's a decision that the family has kind of weighed in on over the past couple of years. He took his time last year. He's taking his time this year. I think it's a decision that they've thought out, and I know Drew Rosenhaus has come out there and said that he may come out of retirement, but I think that may just be something around kind of seeing what Gronk's maybe value is among other teams, but I don't think he would play for another team. So I don't really know. Brian is pointing at me.
Yeah, because I think the caller raises actually one scenario in which I can see Gronk coming back. It wouldn't be Robert Kraft calling him midseason, hey, we need you, or Belichick. But I think if Brady was like, Gronk, listen, you got 6 more games in you and then a playoff run. Come on, we are.
Yeah.
I can actually see that scenario unfolding, but not any of the others.
I just feel like those discussions probably have happened. Don't you think that Brady has tried his best probably to suggest Rob? I mean, it's just, I get that, and maybe if the Pats are 8-0 at that point, there are certainly scenarios where you could see it looking a lot better. If the Pats maybe say, we'll give you $12 million to come back too, that also changes things.
Right.
If it's a prorated $3 million and he's risking, an injury where he can't walk again, then I really don't think it's worth it for him to come back on something like that. So maybe Brian has a point there with, did they nickel and dime Gronk? Is there something to the fact where maybe he was thinking about coming back? Maybe he had committed himself as a blocker. I did talk to some kids that are pretty big Pats fans. That guy Mike, who calls into the show a few times, and he was actually pretty surprised from this because thinking about Gronk committing himself to the blocking game, and I don't know. Looks like you have something to say.
That's the hardest part of the game to commit yourself to, right?
Right. It's not sexy. Well, it's not. No, you don't get any love.
And it's where you get injured.
It's where you get injured, and it's where the game's won. When you have a good offensive line and when you have a strong defensive line.
But that's I'm not like, I don't think they would bring him. I don't. No, we still have our caller.
Oh, okay, all right.
No, I don't think they're bringing him back if they're 8-0. I think they're bringing him back if they're 5-4. You know?
I don't know. I guess Ryan, what do you think? Do you think there's a scenario where Gronk will come back? Do you think it's Drew Rosenhaus trying to see what magic he can conjure up? What do you think it is?
So if I was to put myself into the mind of possible of what Gronk could be thinking, I just think that one of the reasons why he's so relatable to us fans is because he's like every kid's dream all grown up, but he never let that boyhood behind. Like, we all dream to be professional athletes, and he made it there, and he still is cherishing it like everyone else would love to experience. And I just feel like if the season's not going so well for the Patriots, and Tom Brady and Edelman possibly reach out to him, and he sees his brothers in need, he might want to go back into that competitive fire and just try it out again. I mean, I know a lot of concern over the past season and so forth was when Gronkowski wanted to try some of the TB12 methods, and he reached out to Tom Brady's guru and so forth, and Belichick wasn't really keen on that idea. And so, but now I know that TB12 is getting a new building out on Boylston Street.
Oh boy,
Gronkowski.
So it must work.
What's that?
So it's got to work. They got a building out on Boylston?
Yeah, I mean, I just feel like you give it some months, he could feel his health just improving. His back could get a lot better. His bruised knee.
You know what? Honestly, Ryan, I do think you bring up a great point. I think, maybe there is something there. Maybe what we saw last year was a bit, the Pats have had long runs every year here, and Gronk has definitely taken due punishment. Does 6 months? Does he wake up in 6 months? And it's funny because I actually remember he had a crazy injury in college. That's why he actually was even he was going to be a top 5 pick out of college if he hadn't done what he did with his back there. But I think he actually had to have it fused together. Something crazy in collage, and I remember him saying that. Did he have
a herniated disc? Or?
He had something pretty severe or whatever, and I remember him saying that he was like, I don't think I'll ever get the athleticism back. I don't think, and he just wasn't as good. And then 3 months later or something, he basically woke up and was Gronk again, basically. And so, does something like that happen now? Does he take 6 months of, exactly what you're saying? Maybe it was too much pounding with what he did with the run, with his dedication to the running game last year, and maybe 6 months off does really make him feel a whole lot different. For me, I think it's a decision that's been made over the last few years, and I don't want to say, I don't want to be the one to rain on the parade. I want Gronk to come back better than anyone, but if you're asking me, I think that Gronk has made his final decision. I want him to come back. I'd love Gronk to come back, but I just think it's something that it seems like the family has really thought about. It seems like Gronk really leaves a lot of decision. It seems like they're, as a family, they really are a team, and it just seems like a decision that there's been a lot of time thinking about. And will he come back? I'd love to see it. I'd love to be wrong on that, but it just, for me, I don't think he's gonna be coming back. But I can certainly see a scenario where it looks juicy if they're whatever record. And like I said, I honestly, for Gronk, I only think it's the money. I think if they offered Gronk $15 million this year, I think he plays this year. I don't know what you think about that. Do you think there was maybe a number on Gronk? Because it seems like, you're kind of up on that with the whole, he was working out. What do you think it was? Do you think that, he was going to come back and then decided to retire? What do you think it was?
So I think it would have been a tough negotiation with the Patriots and Gronk on that final number, just because they're always trying to, be under the salary cap and have as many talented players as they can, but certainly not overpay too many high priority positions, because they want to have a good combination of all pieces at large. So it's tough to pinpoint that number per se, but the whole reason that I can't get over such an early retirement for Gronkowski is just the fact that he's not even 30 yet, and I feel like he could go out, spend some time away from the game, pursue some of these other avenues like acting, endorsements, and so forth, and just realize that it wasn't as fulfilling as everything that football provides. Just going out there, competing, being in the gridiron, just going against the top players in the game, just having that.
Yeah, Gronk really is a guy that likes the grit and the grind. You're right. He's a guy that's in the weight room.
Going after a championship. I just think he might realize again, though, like, this is the only window in his life that he'll be able to be a professional football player. It doesn't last forever. Everyone knows that Father Time's undefeated. And we've seen so many other athletes come back from retirement.
Exactly. There's no shortage of guys that we've seen come back, from guys that, have come back over the past couple of years where they've been talked through to teammates. Brett Favre kind of held the Green Bay Packers hostage for some time, and, Dirk Nowitzki continues to play on forever there.
But when did Dirk Nowitzki retire?
Well, I mean, it basically seemed like he was gonna kind of retire.
But he didn't. But
yeah.
He didn't. I mean,
yeah. So there's so many guys that have been. There's so many guys that have been close to it over the past couple of years, I guess.
I mean, look at David Ortiz. Didn't we all think that he was kind of maybe gonna come back?
I thought he was dead, because I heard the rumors that everybody said like they said they were like taping him up for like an hour and a half before, just to get him to get there that final season. It seemed like he was toast. Ryan, I would love to dream with you on this, and I would love to see Gronk come back. And I kind of disagree with Brian here,
because we can see it go either direction.
Well, here's the thing, right? I see it kind of as if the Pats are like 3-5 at the halfway point or something. You only have so long to sign these guys. What, week 10 or something like that would probably be when he ultimately, like, contractually would have to probably make a decision. So if the Pats have a like 500 record or slightly over, I could see him, not wanting to like fully get back to the grind, get in shape, take the hits, all that.
He'll stay in shape.
Say they're 8-0 or whatever, and he says that he just went out this summer, acted around, made $10 million, whatever. The Pats are 8-0, and he can just add a Super Bowl on his resume, basically with not as much grit as he would typically have to, that would be a situation that would probably alert me. But, he's clearly retiring because he's afraid of the hits. He's not, you know what I mean? He loves football. He is obsessed with it. He works out like 4 hours a day. The guy, for as much crap as we've seen, and I think this is something, too, that you can hang your hat on from Gronkowski. We've seen so many guys be projects off the field, but nobody's ever questioned Rob Gronkowski's preparation, his execution on game day. There's never any silliness there, and Gronk really should get some credit for that because, like Ryan said, he is the ultimate kid, but he was also the ultimate kid that was able to buy in as well. So he was a kid that was coachable. Really everything that you want. So.
You see Belichick and Kraft just saying that he was the ultimate teammate, the hardest worker, one of the most complete players. So, yeah, he could party off the field, but when it was time to, put in the practice reps and go in the weight room and do all the necessary training beforehand and studying the film and so forth, he also dedicated those hours as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And great stuff out of you tonight, Ryan. Appreciate you calling into the program. I guess one question that I'll leave you with, and I know we could probably go a million different ways in this, but what do you see for the Celtics from here on out? What do you think they'll end up doing the rest of the way?
So I think the Celtics, I know this season hasn't gone according to plan compared to last season. Part of that has just been trying to integrate Gordon Hayward into things and also just figuring out how the guys who had key roles last year due to injuries are now kind of in a lesser role this year, just minutes-wise. I feel like what Brad Stevens has done in the last couple of weeks since the All-Star break has actually been beneficial. I know they just lost the other night, but I see them getting past the first round. I see them getting to the Eastern Conference Finals ultimately, and it's going to be a tough battle between if it's against the Raptors or the Sixers. That's how I kind of see it breaking down. I really think that they'll pull it together and they'll make the Eastern Conference. It's just whether or not they'll have, well, most likely they won't have home court advantage, so that will be tough on the road, and also whether or not like Kyrie and all the other Al Horford can step up and see what they can bring out. So I'm rooting for an appearance in the finals this year. Like we couldn't get over the hump last year. It'd be good to see that progression again, but who knows once it tips off. So.
Well, good stuff, Ryan. I appreciate you calling in tonight. Have a good one. And, that's definitely stuff to talk about as far as the Celtics. I think, there's really a bipolar effect here. It seems to be like the Celtics can one night play great, one night not play great. And I think ultimately if you're doing something along the lines of what Ryan talked about, you're going to have to go through the Milwaukee Bucks that are a well-coached, focused, and talented team. And I don't think that's so much of a gimme. So whether they make it to the Eastern Conference playoffs, I think that was an expectation that we all reasonably had going into the season. But I think the way that you look at it now, the way that Milwaukee has played down the stretch, now they unfortunately had the injury to Malcolm Brogdon. So how much does that affect what they're able to do? How much does it affect the shooting on that team? Because for me, last year, they were a team with all these athletes. This year, they've really, with Mirotic, with some of the guys that they've added, they've really been able to bring on a pretty good shooting team around Giannis, which really allows him to take over the game and have a lot of say in how he wants to dictate the game with the space that some of those guys are able to open up. So, as far as my thoughts on the Celtics, I guess, my final thought here, I guess, is I think it's going to be a really tough series against Milwaukee. I think last year you saw it as they were a good team, and, you thought they were going to win that series probably pretty easily going into it, and that game went all 7. The only team that won was the home team. And this year, you just haven't gelled like you have last year. So can you get lightning in a bottle with Kyrie? Could he start closing out games left and right? Sure, but all indications say that he's been a little bit more disengaged since some of those New York rumors came up. And, honestly, I don't know what we'll see out of Kyrie. I don't know if we'll see him kind of take on a Superman FU kind of vibe, or if he will just kind of bail out on this team. remains to be seen, but he's continuing to get his rest coming into this run, and it's going to be a pretty tough series against Milwaukee. I think the Celtics can ultimately take it, but I think it would definitely be a 7-game series or close to it, or I think that Milwaukee could certainly win that series, So that's going to be a tough one for the Celtics to try to make it to the Eastern Conference Finals. Now, going around the NCAA tournament, your brackets, the team to watch, Zion Williamson continuing to get a ton of praise as really comes off that injury with only a couple games left right before the tournament, and in a do-or-die game at UCF the other day where, admittedly, I would say that Duke got a couple suspect calls at the end of that game if you were watching. I don't know if Brian was watching that game or watching any of the tournament this weekend, but
Nope.
couple fortunate calls at the end of that Duke game that, could have potentially gone in Duke's way. And we got somebody coming through here. Oh, I don't know what you're doing.
We have some pre-roll video or audio that we can run if you'd like.
Oh, certainly, yes. We've got Colin Cowherd just talking up Zion Williamson. Everyone seems to be talking him up after coming out this weekend and going against Taco Fall, who had called him out, and a couple of the ways that they were able to execute him and R.J. Barrett down the stretch just seems to be like Zion and everybody else. And Colin Cowherd just gushing over him this week after the UCF game against Taco Fall, where they were able to pull that out by 1 point at the end.
Let me tell you why the ratings are up. Zion Williamson. CBS has a Zion cam. All right, college basketball, let's be honest, has become like a 2-3 week sport. It's the honeymoon of marriage. It's great for about 10 days, but it's not reality. Zion Williamson is a superstar. This is what superstars look like at 17 years old. If he goes to the New York Knicks, he is going to blow past Giannis, Kawhi, Paul George, Westbrook, Harden, Kawhi Leonard, Embiid, Ben Simmons. In name value, in star value, he is going to blow by them because he...
Yeah, so, again, nothing that nobody's familiar with, but Zion Williamson just looking like the absolute number one pick, and I think it's funny how things kind of pan out, too. I think him going to Duke has really increased his brand in a way that maybe a lot of people aren't talking about. I think before this year, a lot of people looked at him as a very large individual who is able to dunk incredibly well. I think the thing that stood out is this kid's 285 pounds, and he can dunk incredibly well. What else? And I think for him, we talk a lot of times, should guys be able to go to the draft? Should guys at 18 be able to make that decision? Should they go straight from high school to the pros? As it's currently constituted, you do need that additional year, of course. But I look at college basketball, and I look at Zion as I think that's a really great relationship for both of them. I think what you've seen Zion be able to do is really polish his game in a number of ways. And if you look at the tape, even a couple of years ago in high school, you looked at somebody who was a lot beefier, and not to say that he was quite out of shape in that time, but he's definitely shaped differently now. He's really kind of, from the last 2 years, if you look at the tape and you look at the way that he's progressed, this is a guy that's absolutely unstoppable on offense, and he's arguably a better defender. So it's just incredible the way that he's able to close spaces, the way that he's able to move, and I think so many people talk about how big he is and how he needs to lose weight. And I get that, but it's worked for him his whole life. And the reason why he's such a physical abnormality, nobody was telling Shaq to lose weight when he was putting up 30 and 12 and well on his way to so, if I was him, I would use the physicality to my advantage. I probably, I get the wear and tear. And if you see him go from a 46-inch vertical to a 40, or you start seeing some of those measurements go down, certainly lose the weight. But just an incredible athlete. No big story here as Duke wins that game, but, it was a lot closer than a lot of people expected. I think Duke was favored by 13 in that one. And, as March Madness happens, those games can be closer than we expect. And Taco Fall calling out Zion before the game, saying he wasn't going to let him dunk over him. And Zion just responded with an incredible effort. Really, the whole team. I think with Zion, the spotlight that puts that on kind of, so you really don't look at R.J. Barrett, who I think any other year would really be the consensus number one pick. I think he's an incredible scorer. I mean, this guy is built to score at the next level. He's 6'7". He fits right into the mold of your player today. He can score in really every different way. He's able to rebound, facilitate, and extremely polished. Even more polished than Zion is offensively. It's just Zion just has that freak athleticism that, and again, the way that he's been able to change his game over the past couple of years and be able to adapt to college, I think it's only done wonders for his value and his ability as a player. So, we look at so many guys who leave early, and, I think Zion's a guy that's really going to benefit from that year of experience. I know they're in my bracket as the winner, but I think that's probably the same for about 89% of people out there, so I don't think that's going to be a huge differentiator. Not quite the heel pick, but so, what do your brackets look like? Were you quite as frustrated as everybody else was that Tom Izzo yelled at a kid? Do you have UC Irvine in the Sweet 16 like I do? What are your brackets looking like, and what do you think who do you think's ultimately going to be the winner here? Everybody's got Duke, but this is March Madness, and how many years have we seen the number one overall favorite lose way before the tournament game? And we've obviously seen Duke lose to Gonzaga this year. We've seen them lose to UNC, so they're beatable. They have 3 horses there, but they're definitely beatable. For me, I was definitely, UCF really came to play in that game. I mean, I thought they were going to I thought Duke was really going to kill them. So they came to play, but, aside from that, Houston, Kentucky, a lot of chalk kind of moving on, but some upsets as well. So you continue to look things over. I'm sure you've got Duke. Or if you're going to be in position to win, you probably have to have Duke. So better be making your money on those picks all around that. Kind of NCAA tournament bracket madness. Aside from that, you probably saw one of the most horrific leg injuries, as you saw Jusuf Nurkic from the Blazers go down in a terrible way yesterday. Expected to make a full recovery, but literally NBA players crying on the sidelines. Fractured tibia, fractured fibula. I'm not the doctor here, but anyway, just a crazy break. And, for him, a guy that's averaged 16 points, 10 boards, he's really had a great year this year. So a terrible blow for the Blazers and a really tough blow for him. But, it was something that was truly sickening to watch kind of for the fan reactions. And somebody who's had an injury like that, it's just, glad that he's going to be able to make a full recovery. And, these freak injuries are just always crazy when you can get an injury that makes grown men cry, on the spot. So glad that he's going to be able to recover from that. Good news in the NFL. Bruce Arians, continuing to, progress in terms of bringing on a couple women onto his staff as full-time assistant coaches, making the first move there. So got to give him a cheers. One of the coaches that's really respected in this league and saying hell yeah that women can coach in the NFL, pushing a lot of that progressive movement. So definitely kind of as we go around the way there and as we look at some of the changes in the NFL, pass interference is now going to be reviewable by officials. Brian, how much time is that going to add to the game?
Oh man, more than I think.
We review pass interference right now, and you can't even review it.
Yeah.
Or we look at it 30 times. It's now reviewable, which I think it should be, because sometimes it's a penalty where, like, if you just, get some guy going 70 yards down the field, it's like you gave up a touchdown because you got a penalty. So I like the fact that we can at least review it, but I think in a culture where we keep trying to speed up the pace of play and make these games shorter so that they're more, attention span is only going down.
Right.
I don't think
Right.
people want to watch 10-minute reviews of a pass interference, and when you're talking about something that could change the outcome of the game, I mean, my God, I could just see a ton of time being spent on that. So it's something that I've kind of wanted, but it's also something that I kind of don't want at the same time. What are your thoughts about that?
I think the only good thing about that rule change is that it's still would have done nothing for Saints fans. So I'm okay with that.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, we should say that. They should say that.
Saints
except
fans,
for the Saints.
fans, you still are SOL.
Yep. And if you're a Saints fan, you're SOL. And if you're anybody else, you're SOL as well, as our program is wrapping up for the week. We'll catch you next week. Same time, same place. We're here down at the Down the Road Brewery every week in Everett, Massachusetts. It's a pretty cool place. A lot of beers on tap. And, my God, Brian, how big is this TV? This projector that they have up. If you want to come catch a Celtics game like we did.
Oh, hell yeah.
It's so,
like
it's almost like the
40
IMAX
by 30 or something. Or,
so come down, watch a game with us.
Totally, we would love that. Come down and watch a game with us.
That'll do it from me. I'm Billy Allen. That's your producer, Brian Murphy.
Heyo.
And we'll catch you next week.